The race just started, essentially under caution, and one of the championship contenders is already a lap down. Scott Dixon came in 32 points in back of the championship, so what a swing this is going to be. 2 laps are complete. We are working lap 3. It's time to go from Mid-Ohio, and Palou gets the early jump. Side by side, back there for third. Pato Ward chasing Palou.
Looking for that first Team Penske car. Scott McLaughlin in the black and red car going to the outside of the black and yellow car of Colton Herta.
Going to get that position down into turn 6. A little bit of lockup from Christian Lundgaard looking at the back of Alexander Rossi side by side through Thunder Rally. That is tough. They're going to have to sort it out here into turn 9. But Linus Lundqvist on the outside of Lundgaard. Same with the second Meyer Shank machine of Felix Rosenquist. All sorts of action at the back.
One of the storylines. Lundgaard is moving to Errol McLaren, and he's got to run on Rasmussen.
Left side.
Some Christian on Christian maneuvers right there, but he overshoots it. Does Lundgaard. Rasmussen trying to respond on the outside of 5. He'll have the inside for 6. But Lundgaard tries to hang it on. Not going to be enough.
Newgarden, the leader of the three-stop strategy, as these guys, Rasmussen and Ericsson, are side by side.
What a move from Marcus Ericsson on the outside of the keyhole, hard on the brakes. Now he's going to have to defend into turn 4. We saw some nifty driving from the Dane Christian Rasmussen earlier, but now it's the Swede Marcus Ericsson making some moves.
Clean launch for the 5-car and Pato Award. Money stop for the Arrow McLaren team.
That looks super
Push on the
clean.
outlap here. Push.
There goes Scott Dixon. Palou, traffic on his in lap. That is Will Power.
Not what he wanted to see at all.
Alex Palou comes to pit lane, and this pit stop is going to make or break this for him. Those primaries are going to go right back on. They're filling it up with shell fuel. And
oh no!
There was a little bit of a delay there.
Georgia, a big delay. Look at this. There's going to be a battle going up the hill.
Pato Ward coming through turn 1. He's got warmer tires. Pato Ward to the front has gotten around Alex Palou. A lead change at Mid-Ohio, and O'Ward has turned the table.
Let's see what happened here. Into turn 11.
Who's that in front? Oh,
he clipped the apex curb of turn 11. He took too much curb. I've done that before. There's a massive divot right before the curb. It wouldn't surprise me if Newgarden even has some damage to his left front suspension from taking that big hit. It sent him aggressively off the track. Alex Palou, that could have easily gotten away from him and into the inside concrete wall. Nice save from Palou. One thing's for sure, he's trying. He's doing everything he can.
Palou drops 2 wheels out of turn 9. That's going to cost him half a second at least.
Meanwhile, moments ago, that's Romain Grosjean going around.
Contact with the wall. It looked like maybe light contact. What does race control do here?
We're going to see the white flag this time by. Can we stay green? Grosjean's still running. Comes out right in front of Nolan Siegel.
And the leaders.
O'Ward may have to deal with Simpson right in front of him.
But it seems like Canapino is slowing down even a little bit more to try to make it to the finish on fuel. So this is really going to back things up as they come through turn 6.
That was a chance right there down the hill into 6. Bit of a defensive line from O'Ward. It was just enough to keep Palou at bay, and I don't know if there's any opportunities left.
And keep an eye on that green and black car of Canapino. He might run out of fuel and start coasting, and he does get out of the way. So Simpson is in front, the teammate at Ganassi of Alex Palou. A couple of corners left. Pato O'Ward by 2 car lengths on the main straightaway. He weaves, he wiggles. O'Ward wins. McLaren.
Checkered flag. You just won at Mid-Ohio, buddy.
And toppled Alex Palou at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, boy! Long time coming. Long time coming. Enjoy it.
What a drive. What a great race.
Just a great race.
Up next is the Hy-Vee Homefront 250, Saturday, July 13th. Watch it at 8 p.m. on NBC.
And with that, welcome back to the Push to Pass podcast for another episode. I am Derek Vance, and as you see right there, Michael is joining us as usual. Josh is a little bit under the weather, so hopefully he's able to be listening, and then he'll be able to join us next week, obviously, because we are going to have a lot to discuss there with the doubleheader coming up this weekend in Iowa. But before we get into all of that this evening, we do have an exciting race to talk about, analyze, discuss, go through my 5 takeaways. And I'm sure Michael will probably disagree with all 5 of them. Maybe, I don't know. But a lot to go through. And then speaking of Michael, me and him did go to Mid-Ohio this weekend. Josh had a prior obligation come up, which forced him not to be able to go. But Michael, to his credit, and he worked his tail off to get about a half a dozen or so driver interviews pre and post race this weekend. So we'll play them here as well as the show unfolds. We'll take a look at the race results if you haven't seen those yet. We'll go over the new point standings and the race picks. Yes, I finally got one right, folks. It must, I'm usually the kiss of death when it comes to race picks, but hey, I got one right this weekend, and then we'll have Mike join us at about 8:50 or so to go over his winnings this past weekend, and then give you a little bit of a preview as to what Iowa's going to look like. I was looking at the past winners, and I kind of have a sneaky suspicion. I think I know where Mike's going to be headed. With who to bet on this weekend, and then also too at the top of the hour, right before we end things, we'll have the weather report from our official weatherman here at the Push to Pass podcast, and then we'll dive a little bit into Iowa. Like I said, I don't want to keep it too long. Obviously, we got 2 races this weekend, but we got Mid-Ohio rather. To talk about first. And we do have some news that broke earlier today with another certain driver going back to a familiar stable for Iowa this weekend. We'll get into that here right before we close the show out. But as you see right here, like I said, Michael is joining us. Michael, definitely a lot to talk about this weekend that happened at Mid-Ohio. But before we get into that, though, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, this is your second race that you were able to go to this weekend that you were credentialed at Mid-Ohio. It seems like you knew your way around there. Tell the listeners there a little bit of what they missed out if they didn't end up going this past weekend there at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, if you didn't go to Mid-Ohio, you seem to the camera doesn't do it justice, but I have a red head here today. I'm pretty burnt. I got a good amount of sun. Great weather Sunday. Friday there was some rain there, but Sunday great weather for a great crowd that showed up to Mid-Ohio. Was really surprised because as you've seen going into the racetrack, it is just in the middle of nowhere. You get off the interstate, and about 20 minutes later, in the middle of in cornfields and soybean fields, there's a racetrack. So, but what a great facility. I got to thank all the staff and everyone at Mid-Ohio for taking care of us on Sunday. They did a great job. A lot of walking. We found out real quick, there's only that one crossover bridge. So we did a lot of walking. So other than that, it was just a great time. And a lot to talk about throughout the race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Michael. A lot of walking, and then I think I made the comment coming in that it seemed like to me. Well, first of all, I'd like to know who decided to put a a sports car course, right in the middle of nowhere. Basically, it felt like going down some of the roads that we went down to get to Mid Ohio, because there was one of the roads we had to take was out, so we had to find a detour. But it seemed like it was from the movie Deliverance. I was just waiting for someone to come out and start playing a banjo. That's what it seemed like to me. But anywho, let's cut to it here. Let's get into what we witnessed this past weekend at the Honda Indy 200 there, presented by the 2015, I do believe, Civic Hybrid. And speaking of hybrids, that's where I'm going to start off this evening, talking about the hybrid engine from my 5 takeaways. But first, huge congratulations, obviously, is in order to Pato Award and the whole number 5 Arrow McLaren Chevrolet crew for collecting their second, and I put that in parentheses, win of the season on Sunday at the Honda Indy 200 at Mid Ohio. Like I said, presented by the 2025 2025 Civic Hybrid. Try saying that. Award did hold off current points leader Alex Palou, who drives the number 10 Ridgeline Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing. Now, I didn't know this at the time we were there. I just found this out, getting home on Sunday evening more early than what we thought. But the margin of victory for Award over Alex Palou was 0.4993 seconds, which makes it the closest finish on a road or street course this season. So that was the difference there between first and second place, was 0.493 seconds. We'll get into the race results and the new point standings here after the takeaways. But Michael, first takeaway, like I said, no spoiler alert here. But I thought, and again, I'll turn to you here and I'm done. But I thought this was a successful debut for the new hybrid engine system. So much we've heard about, so much has been hyped up about it. This had to be the most talked about and written storyline going into this weekend's race at Mid Ohio. Obviously, IndyCar ushering in a new era with this new hybrid engine system that both, believe it or not, collaboration between Honda and Chevrolet together to come up with this. Now, you told me on the way that Honda already had kind of the blueprint, so to say, because they've done this in F1. And I know, later on, I know you talked to a certain driver and asked him about what the hybrid system's like in F1. So I won't let that cat out of the bag. But, outside of the voltage issue that we've seen right there in the beginning of the race for Scott Dixon, and interesting statistic I have coming up on him in the takes. But, his troubles, I'll touch on, like I said, later. I think IndyCar's got to be excited about the results of this new engine system, not only after Sunday's race, but obviously moving forward. And then one of the great features was on display right there on the closing laps on Sunday, right there where you seen Roman Grosjean spins off the track and he ends up stalling his number 77 Hunkos Hollinger Racing Chevrolet with just 3 laps to go. Now, in the past, obviously, an incident like that was probably going to trigger a caution, just due to the fact that the IndyCar Series cars had no onboard starters. Well, with this new hybrid system, that obviously changes. So, Grosjean was able to use his hybrid super capacitors to restart his engine and return to the track. And obviously the race stayed green, and we've seen what happened after that. So just to sum it up, Michael, I thought that IndyCar has to be over the moon here with this successful debut this past weekend and going forward of the new hybrid engine system.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the system was designed very well. I think Chevy and Honda did a great job developing it and making sure that the system was intact and didn't have any issues really, except for Dixon's voltage issue, which hasn't really been talked too much about as far as what actually happened mechanically. Hopefully someone brings that up this weekend or can get more conclusive information on what caused that issue. And I know previously on Friday and Saturday, there was some issues with the starter. So they had to work on the softwaring. So that did help with Roman getting going. But overall, the hybrid system worked out great. I think it was a huge success. And it's definitely, I think I seen an article today about maybe even more manufacturers being interested in joining IndyCar, which is great for many reasons. That could be a whole show just about bringing in different engine manufacturers. So engine worked well. We'll just have to continue to kind of monitor it. I would love to see how it's going to work out here at Iowa on the short track. So, and on ovals as well. So it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, one last thing from that you talked about there, that there could be new engine manufacturers coming in here with this new hybrid system, especially all the grave reviews that it's getting. That might be just in time if if that long rumor is true that Honda may be looking to take their racing business elsewhere. We'll say that obviously remains to be seen. Takeaway number 4 that I had from this, and Michael, I have to stand corrected a little bit. They actually did throw one caution. Here was early in the race there with Dixon going off. So, almost caution-free race there on Sunday. After doing some long math, Michael, which I don't know if you know this or not, but it was a subject that I kind of gave up on when I started seeing letters and numbers showing up together. That's when I gave up on math. But anywho, it's actually been, if you believe it or not, and I know that I tossed this in our group text, it has been 1,373 days, or for you illiterate math people like myself, 3 years and 9 months since the last NTT IndyCar Series race went caution free. And that was, if you guys don't know, flashback, October 3rd, 2020. It was actually the IndyCar Harvest GP during COVID at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. So a little flashback there. But overall, like I said, I thought it was a very clean race on Sunday. And then, as I said in the above there at bullet point number 5, that one of the new features, many features, that this new hybrid system that came into play with Roman Grosjean being able to refire his car, which kept the race green. And if it wasn't for Scott Dixon's early troubles there at the opening laps, we would have seen a caution-free race. Like I said, the first time that would have happened since October 3rd, 2020. So, Michael, kind of curious to get your thoughts on a very clean race last Sunday.
Yeah, very clean race, very physical race. I seen a couple of drivers talking about that. Graham Rahal was one that talked about how hot it was, how physically demanding it was. And then earlier today, I seen on X that Scott McLaughlin had tweeted, or X'd, I don't know what we're calling that still, but I had seen he had sent out his heart rate throughout the race, and he had some pretty good heart rate throughout that race. So very physically demanding, and I still classify this as a caution-free race because I don't know that you can throw the caution before you throw the green flag. So just very interesting how they did that. But at the end of the day, very clean race. Everyone was pretty respectful. Some good passing. I mean, we seen in the highlights that Newgarden went off there. He had a whole list of issues. And then, Grosjean having his issue and being able to restart the car is a great, system with this hybrid era, because, I mean, how many cautions can you think about over the last, this season alone, where we've had to throw, the yellow flag just to refire a car. So that'll cut down on some of the cautions, might, increase some of the length of the race as far as green flag runs, but green flag runs come with great strategy, 3 stops, 2 stops. We've seen that at Mid-Ohio. So I'm excited. Every race, it just seems like the anticipation for something great is just building and building.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and you know what? I can see the point you're making there. How can you throw the yellow before the green? But looking at the official statistics that the great folks over at IndyCar put out after the race, they did that was classified as a caution. So unfortunately, we had to put that in there, or we would have been witness to a caution-free race. And again, that hadn't happened since 2020. Would have been cool to see, but hopefully, somewhere down the line, we're able to witness that. But next bullet point or takeaway I had on Sunday obviously has to do with the well-documented issues that Scott Dixon had. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but for everyone who watched or attended the race on Sunday, you were a witness to history, but unfortunately, it wasn't the good kind, obviously. Throughout Scott Dixon's Hall of Fame-worthy 22-year NTT IndyCar career, Sunday, believe it or not, was the first time in 355 races that Scott Dixon received a DNF. So what an impressive run string there by Scott Dixon. Yeah, I have a little bug flying around here. I'm going to have to get him. But yeah, what a impressive run there indeed. And obviously, it's been well documented so far. Dixon's troubles just didn't, they started at the green flag when the green flag waved, and it obviously didn't get any better for him. Like Michael alluded to, there as the race started, Dixon's number 9 PNC Bank Honda for Chip Ganassi Racing had a voltage issue, which obviously put him behind the 8 ball and eventually would put him several laps down, 40 to be exact. Like we said, Dixon brought out the only caution of the race when he went off the course in turn 5. He was able to, he only ran 40 of the 80 allotted laps. And obviously, like Mike said, he had to retire due to mechanical issues. Now, something I brought up, and I know Michael can contest to this. While I was riding, he was driving to Mid-Ohio on Sunday. I made the point that it's going to be interesting to see, with IndyCar rolling out this new hybrid engine system right in the middle of the season, right in the middle of a points championship at the time being so tight, who or what driver is this going to affect? And oddly enough, it was one of the points championship leaders in Scott Dixon. With his DNF on Sunday, he dropped from second in points to fourth in points, 71 points behind his teammate Alex Palou with just 9 rounds left in the season. So going to be interesting to see when we get to Nashville if this race comes back to haunt Scott Dixon and prevents him from winning another series championship. But Mike, kind of curious to get your take there on the struggles that not only Scott Dixon had, but other Chip Ganassi drivers outside of Alex Palou had on Sunday as well.
Yeah, you bring up the Chip Ganassi organization, and Dixon obviously well documented the issues he's had. With the whole voltage issue. I was actually listening to his radio as soon as we learned that there was an issue with his car, and he just wanted them to take him back to pit road, and they were like, no, we're taking you behind the wall here at turn 5. And the crew was really, I think they were more adamant to get the car back so they could figure out, okay, what is wrong with the system. And I think, it took about 10 laps for them to get the car back to the garage area, and so they could start diagnosing it. I think it's very important that if this stuff, with the hybrid system and these little quirks that are happening, when this stuff comes up, it is imperative that the IndyCar series gets those cars back to the teams as quick as possible so they can diagnose these issues to help develop, whether it's a software issue or something like that, to where not only is it, a team specific problem, it could be, hey, we found this glitch or something that in the software that affected Scott's car. We need to maybe address it throughout the entire series. So those are things that have to kind of be communicated between officials and the team and stuff. I know the team was very, very adamant about getting the car back. As far as the other big Chip Ganassi issue, the 4 car just stalled. I mean, even leaving pit road for the initial pace laps and then during his pit stall as well. And I know we walked pit road a couple of times, and I brought it up to you. I'm like, look at the elevation change on this pit road. I said, that's going to cost someone today. And it just happened to be one of those guys that was like right before the crest of the hill there. So, yeah, very interesting. But, with Scott Dixon, I wrote an article about how dominant he's been at Mid-Ohio, and this was a really good track for him to, start, building towards, maybe contending for the championship, and he goes out and has that issue. So it'll be interesting to see, like you said, at Nashville, does this race come back to haunt him?
Yeah, I think we're both right in both aspects, and walking pit road there, Michael's dead on, and I didn't realize that, but we weren't we were right behind where all of the equipment was, and that was one of the first things he pointed out is just how the elevation change from the first pit stall that Alex Palou had to the last pit stall that I believe Kip and Simpson may have had. Just the different elevation changes was was interesting to see. So we'll see this weekend coming up here if Scott Dixon can shake this off and hopefully have 2 good races this weekend that gets him right back up there. But he definitely has a long road to hoe for sure. Second to last takeaway here before we, what the first one's going to be. Obviously, I commend and the hard work and patience that Christian Rasmussen put in on Sunday finally paid off there in the number 20 Guy Care Chevrolet, obviously for Ed Carpenter Racing, as the 2023 Indy Next by Firestone champion was able to capture his first top 10 in the NTT IndyCar in his NTT IndyCar Series career, finishing 9th. So congratulations to him. I know he had a great qualifying spot of P8, and Christian was able to keep his nose clean, keep his car clean, and completed all 80 laps. So this has to be a huge boost of momentum, not only for Rasmussen, but for that Ed Carpenter team going forward here, as Christian's obviously going to grow and learn in the series. But I thought a huge congratulations goes out to him for the drive and collecting his first top 10 of his career.
Yeah, absolutely right. Good run for him. Good run for Ed Carpenter Racing. I think we kind of talked about it on the way or to or from, I can't remember the direction at this point. But we talked about Ed Carpenter Racing, and like outside of Indy, like we haven't heard much from them at all. So really good run for him. It's a shame he's not running at Iowa. He just has that momentum now, and kind of gets pulled for the car for quite. He's got 2. He's going to miss the 2 races at Iowa. Then he'll be back for Toronto, and then we're on the Olympic break. So, it seems like just when he's starting to build momentum, hopefully he can kind of keep that going when he comes back for Toronto. So yeah, just great effort for them. Great effort for the team. Good to see Ed Carpenter Racing back in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, and then obviously number 1, and I think again everybody knows where I'm going with this. Speaking of a great team win there, obviously, Pato Award and the whole Arrow McLaren team, what they did on Sunday, to pick up that proper first win that Pato talked about after the race. And interesting clip that the NTT IndyCar Series X account put out earlier today. That's going to be the show closer, so you probably want to stick around to see that. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Great question asked by actually Tim May to Pato after the race, but you have to stay tuned for that. But one of Michael's favorite football coaches and one of Josh's favorite football coaches. The great Ohio State football coach, Woody Hayes, once said that nothing comes easy in this world is worth a damn. And I truly believe that is how Pato O'Ward felt after the St. Petersburg race was obviously handed to him, due to that infraction by Joseph Newgarden. But Pato on Sunday, the first thing he said after being interviewed is, he was finally happy to get a proper win. Obviously, being able to, celebrate with his team, with his crew in Victory Lane. And speaking of Victory Lane for Pato, if you can believe this or not, up to Sunday, it was 714 days, or 1 year and 11 months since O'Ward last visited Victory Lane. Now, I'm saying visited, not, handed a win, but visited Victory Lane. You got to go all the way back to 2022 at the Hy-Vee Salute to Farmers 300 at the Iowa Speedway, which is obviously where the series is headed to next, to find the last time Pato O'Ward was in Victory Lane. Now, Michael talked about, we were walking, the pits during a warm up there. And, if you remember, Michael, one of the other team's personnel was, told us how quick the Arrow McLaren cars were, especially Pato O'Ward. And, all O'Ward was waiting to do was to get a chance to overtake Alex Palou, and his patience finally paid off. Obviously we've talked about, and it's well documented on here, that, Pato has played the bridesmaid so many times and not the bride. Well, on lap 57, Palou's in the pits. He kind of stalls it, and O'Ward sees his opportunity, and he definitely seized on it. Eyewitness where we were at in the other media center, Pato's coming down the front stretch out of that last turn. He kind of wiggles a little bit, but he definitely got on the gas. And, as like I said, Palou kind of stalls it in the box a little bit, stumbles out of his pit box, and O'Ward takes the lead and, holds on to it for the remaining 24 laps to pick up his sixth career victory. Now, interesting as well here, credit to Chevrolet, because with O'Ward's win, this obviously gives Chevrolet a little feather in the cap, so to say, in their rich history of racing. They get their first win in the first race in the new era of the IndyCar series with the new hybrid engine system. And along with that, they take the manufacturer's points lead by Honda over 4 points. So, not only huge congratulations goes out to Pato O'Ward, but to Chevrolet as well. So, Michael, kind of curious to get your thoughts here, wrapping up the five takeaways here. The race that Pato O'Ward had, and obviously, he has been patient for so long, playing the bridesmaid, but on Sunday, he finally got that opportunity to play the bride.
Yeah, this we talked about it before, I think a couple episodes ago, about how the mistakes with Pato and just, this is a race where he can look back and say he hit everything right on. And I mean, Palou in that first stint, he took off. He was gone. I was watching lap times. We were sitting there talking about lap times, and I'm like, Palou's gone. Like, there's no way that anyone's going to catch him. And then that second stint on the alternates, and Palou just fell apart. And we'll hear here in a little bit about his thoughts on that. But I look at that, and that's where Pato really, he stuck in, and he caught Palou at the perfect time. He caught him, and then immediately he was in that last fuel window, and he hit pit road immediately, did the undercut. And I don't know that even if, Palou didn't have the issue on pit road, I think Pato still had the lead, because he was so quick on the out lap coming, after that pit stop. I don't think the tires would have been warm enough on Palou's car to even, defend. So great execution by Arrow McLaren. Great execution by Pato, kept the car, clean, had no issues, throughout the race. And you sit there long enough and you're fast enough, long enough, you're going to find victory lane. He did that. You could see waiting for the other drivers to get to the podium. He was exhausted. He was beat, and very physical race. We talked about that a little bit earlier. So physical, but the excitement that you could tell just like with the fans. His fan base is absolutely incredible. It's great for the sport. He's great for the sport, and it's just it's absolutely incredible that they've come up. The Chevy hybrid is all that was talked about now. So Honda's got a little bit of work to do. So we'll see how that goes coming into to Iowa. And then, Pato, you said he's won at Iowa before. He's pretty good on the oval. So he could start a good trend here.
Yeah, he absolutely could. And just to piggyback on, what you talked about there, we were looking at the lap times and things. And I looked over and told you, I said, Pato's got a better car on the softer red compound tires. And that is how he cut that lead drastically. Pelot's car on the red compound tires, I don't know what it was. There was a difference between Pelot's car on the softer reds and the black tires. What that was, I don't know. But Pato had a better car than Pelot on the softer red compounds. That is how he cut that lead. Pelot was out to I think a 5 or 6 second lead at one point, and I said, if he gets out there in front, this thing's over with. But, Pato, the strategy paid off. His car was better on the reds, and obviously he takes the win on Sunday. Speaking of the results for Sunday, we'll go through them here real quick. Obviously, your podium, Pato Award, Alex Pelot, Scott McLaughlin, the third place finisher. Then it was Colton Herta, Marcus Ericsson, Alexander Rossi, Christian Lundgaard, Kyle Kirkwood, Christian Rasmussen, and Santino Ferrucci round out your top 10. Then it was Will Power, David Malukas, Toby Sowery coming home 13th, Felix Rosenquist, Lunas Lundquist, Stingray Robb, which we'll hear from here shortly, Marcus Armstrong, Graham Rahal, his home course there in Ohio, and Renus VK and Nolan Siegel round out your top 20. Then it was Kiffin Simpson, Augustine Canapino, Roman Grosjean, Pietro Fittipaldi, Joseph Newgarden, Jack Harvey, and Scott Dixon round out the 27 entries there on Sunday. Speaking of drivers, and again, huge credit goes to Michael for the work that he put in this past weekend on pre and post race interviews. Huge props out to him. He said he got about a half a dozen or so pre and post race interviews. Let's get to them. First, we're going to hear from David Malukas.
Down here with David Malukas. You've had a crazy last 11 months, I would say. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely the craziest few months I've had in probably my entire life for sure.
So now that you have a full race under you and come into Mid-Ohio, how's the wrist feel? How's the car feel? And are you happy with the speed in the car?
Yeah, the wrist feels very good. It's definitely got worn in and broken in after Laguna, and now, it's definitely still a little bit on the weaker side and still missing a little bit of flexibility, but in a lot better state than Laguna. And of course, with the team, we're just building that much more chemistry, understanding what I want from the car and kind of what feedback they want. So we've built a really good setup. And, we qualified P3, I think, just then in the warm-up, missing a little bit of pace on the primaries, but we're going to head back trying to figure something out. And I know we'll do it, and heading into the race will be good.
All right, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Well, as this loads up, we're here from Marcus Ericsson, but yeah, good run there by David Malukas on Sunday. We'll see if this Marcus Ericsson loads. If not, we'll skip it and try to go back to it. The next one is going to be Stingray Robb.
With Stingray Robb, you've got a good-looking car. How's it feel?
It's been a rough weekend here. I don't know why we're lacking pace so much, but it'll be interesting with a new surface. We don't really know what the degradation level's like for the race. Might be a 2-stop, might be a 3-stop, but I think that's kind of up to the leaders to decide what that's going to be for us, depending on the pace. So, hoping for a good race. I hope we can race forward and have some good strategy. But right now, we need to figure a few things out.
Either tire feel better overall?
I mean, obviously the pace on the Reds is going to be better to start, but the degradation level seemed pretty high on them this morning. So I don't know if that was just us or if it was all the cars around us. So I think that the blacks are going to be good for longevity, but it's going to be a matter of in and out laps here. I think that's kind of what's decided the race last few years here.
Okay, and the one big question I have for you is you bring your faith to racing. What's that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I wear the Bible verse John 3:30 on my suit and Nomex as much as I can because that's a call to mission for me. It says, he must increase, but I must decrease. And so it's a reminder to myself as well as people around me that I'm not just racing for me. I'm not racing for my glory. I'm racing for the God's glory. And I feel like he's given me a platform to use here. And my faith is my foundation that I work from. And so I pursue excellence because I feel that God has called us to excellence in whatever we do. So my job is to do the best I can in the car, but also represent him well.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, trying to go back to Marcus Ericsson. This may I may have to try if I can reload this or maybe send this out at a different time. This just not it's having issues loading this up. Not all the rest of them have been great quality, but for some reason this one's just taking a little while to load up. So we'll see if we can go back to that. Next was runner up there, Alex Palou.
I'm down here with second place finisher in the Honda 200, Alex Palou. Alex, you started out strong today. The first stint went really well. What happened there in that second stint on the on the alternates, and the third stint there?
Just had a ton of deck. Couldn't really keep up the pace without shredding those front tires on the alternates. We were really strong on the primaries, both the first and third stint, but really couldn't match the pace that the 5 had on alternates.
Yeah, I thank you for your time today, and good luck we're going to Iowa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? So good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Down here with Colton Herta after the Honda Indy 200. How was your race today, and where do you think you could improve going forward?
It was okay. Thank you. I think obviously we started fourth, we finished fourth. Overall pace wasn't bad. We just didn't have the pace of the top 3. We had a little bit of understeer in the car, but nothing terrible. So I think if we clean that up a little bit, that's kind of where we can find a little bit of time.
Okay, any issues with your hybrid unit?
None at all. No, it actually performed well. I never had any problems with overheating or any dropouts or anything like that. So it was actually really nice. It performed exactly how all of winter testing went.
Okay, thank you for your time today.
No problem. Thanks, man.
Yeah. We'll see if we can sneak one more in, Santino Ferrucci, but it looks like we may have issues playing that one there as well. But Michael, anything else you want to add to your great work there on pre and post race interviews there on Sunday?
Yeah, I give a lot of credit to all the media members that try and walk and talk with drivers because it's a little stressful to give them room as well as not run over every fan that's trying to get an autograph at the same time. So it's always fun to dodge people. And then as I was going back through those audios, we talked about how it didn't feel very windy, but man, it picked up there or something because all the wind was just crazy. So it was fun to interact with the drivers and see how, just open they are to kind of, talking to anybody and everybody and, giving their time. So I appreciate them giving up their time for us for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Huge thank you to them for taking a few minutes out of their pre or post race activities and obligations to get a couple words in. Let's look at the newest points things here before we get into a couple other things. Let me move that out of the way. Point standings as they are this evening. Alex Palou, Willpower, Pato Award are your top three. Then it is Scott Dixon, followed by Colton Herta, Kyle Kirkwood, Alexander Rossi, Scott McLaughlin, Felix Rosenquist, and Joseph Newgarden round out your top 10. Then it is Christian Lundgaard, Marcus Ericsson, Santino Ferrucci, Roman Grosjean, Marcus Armstrong, Graham Rahal, Lunas Lundquist, Rinus VK, Christian Rasmussen, and Pietro Fittipaldi round out the top 20. Then they're followed by Kiffin Simpson and Augustine Canapino, Stingray Robb. Obviously, Theo Porcher is right there, but he's not going to be in the number 6 machine, anytime soon, obviously. Jack Harvey, Tom Bloomquist won't be in there as well. Nolan Siegel, Callum Ilott, who won't be in there, and David Malukas and Luca Galito round out your top 30. So that is your look at the newest points from Sunday. And then, Michael, the most important and most exciting part of the show for me, unfortunately, Josh isn't here, but I do get to show off that I was able to collect in the picks between us my third win of the season. Obviously, 2 of them come from Pato Award. 1 was a gift. Again, Josh does lead the overall standings there, 6 wins. I'm followed a distant second there with 3, and you will probably pass me by the end of the season with 1 obviously coming in late. But I'm sure you'll pass me here with 2 wins, a sweep, as they like to say this weekend. Anything you want to talk about points wise or our picks wise here before we get a word in from our sponsors?
No, not really. Just I think you're downplaying a little bit. I think you'll end up passing Josh. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Maybe you've turned a page here.
Well, I like you for the kind words. I thank you, but it's as they like to say here that remains obviously to be seen. So. Before we have our 2 guests come on here in about 3 or so minutes, again, let's take a little bit of time to thank our sponsors, obviously, who make it possible for us to bring you the Push to Pass podcast on a week in and week out basis. First and foremost, Always Ready 1776. If you're looking for patriotic apparel, headwear, and more, go check out what 1776 Always Ready 1776 has to offer at alwaysready1776.com. And again, remember as well, use that promo code that you see right there, Push to Pass, for 10% off of your order. alwaysready1776.com. And then also Get 'em Associates for all your design and remodeling and contractor needs. Remember, it's Get 'em Associates, and you can find them on the web as well at getem.com. And if you use that promo code that you see down there at the bottom as well, Push to Pass, you will get $250 off any design service. So huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Get 'em Associates for being proud sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. So getting back into talking and wrapping up Mid-Ohio, I do see that our betting aficionado has joined us there, Mike. So kind of curious, Mike, to hear what you had this week. And I know you bet the farm on Pato Award to make a late pass there to pick up the win. So that is why Mike looks like he is living the lifestyle that everyone wishes that they could, especially myself.
Yeah, man. From a rental car in a parking lot after a work dinner, like loving life, anything for the Push to Pass pod, but anything to come on and talk about winning a bunch of money on Pato and keeping the lucky streak going with you guys. It's been a good year. Biggest win of the year was Pato 12-1. And I didn't think it was going to be a winner. I basically was trying to figure out ways to bet Palou to try to hedge a little bit. And Pato put it in second. I was like, all right, well, I said I'm just going to cross my fingers and see if Pato can cash this ticket. And yeah, that was an awesome race, and it was a really profitable race. So jumped on Pato pre-qualifications. That's why, if you paid attention, the reason I did that was I looked, I watched the highlights of last year's race back, and Pato was the best driver on that track. He messed up in qualifying, if you recall, the year prior, and he must have passed. He was the mover of the race, passed 10, 12 guys. He likes that track, so that was the reason. And then the books laid him at 10-1. You bet numbers, not drivers sometimes. And Pato at 10-1, and I boosted him up to 12. Sportsbooks, a lot of sportsbooks will give you 20% boost. So yeah, it was a big hit. It was awesome. So super excited, and move on to the next race now.
I want to ask you something, and Michael actually pointed this out to me. You didn't put any money on Kyle Kaiser to win the race, did you, on Sunday?
Man, so that bet, I put out the group bet. I saw that group bet get posted. It was Group B, and it was Kyle Kaiser, Lundgaard, Rossi, and Ericsson. And I'm like, well, this is free money. Like I'm already getting Kyle Kaiser. I knew they meant Kyle Kirkwood, but so what sucks is they voided those bets. I reached out to the sports book, like their customer service, and I'm like, well, even if you meant Kyle Kirkwood, like the bet was still a winner, because the bet was to bet Rossi and Ericsson, and then all they had to do was beat Lundgaard and then Kyle Kaiser. So yeah, look, the sports books make mistakes, and sometimes they don't catch them. Like I've had that happen before, and I've won the money, but no, unfortunately, they were like, well, Kyle Kaiser didn't start the race, so we're voiding this bet. They used like some head-to-head rule they had, even though it wasn't head-to-head. But yeah, it's sometimes look, you shoot those shots when you get them, and I went for it, and I think some people other books might have got paid out, but my bet was through Hard Rock, and Hard Rock sent me the void, and then when I tried to fight them on it, they said no go and voided it. So, me and Hard Rock customer service, we're 0 for 2. I still haven't gotten paid out on Pato and St. Pete. I don't think I'll ever see my Pato St. Pete money, which would have been a huge win. And I no longer am going to win my over Kyle Kaiser bet money, I guess. So 0 for 2, maybe the third time that they mess up and I catch them sleeping, it'll be a charm.
Yeah, hopefully, like I said, we were sitting in the makeshift media center they had there, and Michael, he says, "Hey, look at this," and he shows me the X or tweet that you sent out with I think you or Tony sent it out with Kyle Kaiser on there. I'm like, wow, do they really not pay attention? Mike's been right all this time, but turning the page on Mid Ohio, obviously doubleheader this weekend in Iowa. And I told Michael opening the show, I said, I bet that I have a sneaky suspicion as to where Mike's looking at betting for this weekend. You're not happening to hedge your bets on a certain two-time Indy 500 champion, are you?
Yeah, look, it's Joseph Newgarden week, right? And this is this is an example where, unfortunately, the books have caught on. Got to make a ton of money on Joseph maybe 2-3 years ago, just knowing that he dominates Iowa, and the sports books not having any idea. A couple big 4-1, 5-1 wins, but last year the sports books got smart. I think I want to say he was like just around even money to win the race. Honestly, I think that might still be a good bet. I have we'll see. Maybe the sports book, like Newgarden, has not done well. He's low in the points. He's not had, I wish if he wouldn't have won the 500, maybe we would have gotten him at 3-4-1 again for this race. Who knows? But yeah, this is the Joseph Newgarden track. Obviously, he should have won both races last year. It was if you recall, like a suspension part broke. If I recall, something crazy happened. He was dominating the race. Him and McLaughlin just ran away with it. So yeah, it's Bet Joseph week. Find ways to make money betting Joseph. Pair him up with soccer bets and Copa. Pair him up with F1 bets. Pair him up with some big Wimbledon favorites. I don't know. Find ways to get the bet up a little bit. But yeah, Joseph's the one we want to bet for Iowa. It's pretty simple. The only thing that gives me like a second of pause if they post some like crazy low number, because look, it's just IndyCar. If there is any race where I'm gonna like last week, I was not willing to bet Pillow at 2-1 or lower. Like that's just crazy. in case in point, like stuff happens in IndyCar races. He has a bad pit stop, he gets passed up, and he's not going to do anything crazy to lose his points. So the only thing that gives me pause here is the repave, right? How is the repave going to change the dominance of Joseph and Penske on this track? Maybe we'll have, and obviously the hybrid. Like, is that going to have any effect on this race? So I don't know. We'll see if the sports books post a 3-1, 4-1. Like, I'm jumping on it. I don't care. I'll hit it. If they post like an even money, it can't get much worse. I actually would then hope for him not to get the pole, because really the pole doesn't matter like it does on road and street courses on ovals. So fine, Joseph can start 10th, 11th, and I guarantee he's like a couple of years past he'd win the race by still 2 laps, lapping the field. So then at that point, maybe I'll wait and watch and see if the repave, if the drivers say something different, or if all of a sudden, he's not the fastest car in practice or something like that. But fully expect Joseph to win these. He's going to be the guy to bet in these last couple ovals. If there was a number 2 and 3, like 1A or 2B, 3C, Pato and then McLaughlin are the 2 guys. I think Tony put out a tweet of the number of guys that have won on ovals in the last 3 years. There's like 3 guys, right? It's like Dixon, Pato, and Joseph, and then maybe McLaughlin won at Texas. I don't know, but it's a small list. So yeah, bet Joseph. I don't have any other better advice than that.
Yeah, I think you kind of stole my last question I had. If someone was going to go off and not bet the farm on Joseph Newgarden, would that next person in line be Pato O'Ward with the momentum he has from Mid Ohio and plus being a previous winner here at Iowa? But I think you kind of answered that, so that'll take care of that. Michael, do you have any other questions wise here before we let Mike get back to his dinner?
No, I'm with Mike on the repave from testing. It sounds like it's going to be super fast. So yeah, just have to watch qualify and practice.
Yeah, that throws a wrench in things. We'll see. I still think the reason he's so fast is he just understands the lines. He understands the tire wear. He understands how to get in and out of the corners like nobody else. And then he's just a little braver, I think, than others. I don't know, but yeah, it'll be like, look, it's 2 races. That's the other thing. Like, I always tell people, I probably should say this PSA, like I'll post this as well. Like, like I would always, if you're going to decide to bet $100 total for the weekend, or maybe $100 a race, I might actually just say bet 150 on the second race and 50 on the first, or bet, 25 on the first and save 75 for the second, and then watch the race, because you can learn a ton, of who's fast, who's not, and then you can make smarter bets the next race. And the sports books, they're not, trust me, the guy making the odds is not watching the race. He's maybe looking at a box score. They're just going to set a line and let the market do what the market does and then take action. So pay attention to the first race and then maybe save some money for the second. I will always fire some more bullets in the second. If you watch Joseph dominate the first race, maybe something happens or he just wins it easily, just bet him again the second race and pair it up with some stuff. Like, he's probably going to dominate again. So pay attention to that. We get 2 races and 2 chances to win more money.
Good stuff as always. Definitely look out for Mike and Tony if they're going to have a spaces maybe on Friday or maybe early Saturday evening, due to the fact that this first race is a night race, which I can't wait for. But Mike, good stuff as always. Look forward to hearing about your winnings next week, and then you can go maybe have a more expensive dinner on the boss's dime next week.
All right, guys, take care.
All right, good stuff as always there from Mike. Go check him out on Twitter or X if you're looking to make a little bit of money. Obviously, that is the person to turn to. So before our next guest here shows up, probably within the next 5 minutes or so, let's take a peek forward here to what we have coming up here. Obviously, it is a Iowa doubleheader this weekend. So I tried to condense everything into one slide. We'll see how that works out. Obviously, for people that are unfamiliar, this is what the track that the drivers are going to be to try to tame this weekend, twice, Saturday night and Sunday afternoon. Obviously, this is the Iowa Motor Speedway, and let me pull up some track info for everyone. Here it is. The Iowa Speedway is located in Newton, Iowa. It is a 0.875 mile tri-oval with variable banking that drives like a much bigger super speedway with laps under 18 seconds. And I think they were breaking laps quicker than that, testing just a few weeks ago. It is known as the world's fastest short track. It is exceptionally demanding physically and mentally on drivers. It was designed with the second generation of safer barrier around the perimeter of the track. So that is that's what we're looking at there. Setup wise for the weekend. Let's look into the schedules because, like I said, I know I have put both of these on the same slide to make it a lot easier there for everyone. Obviously, on things are going to get kicked off there on Friday, where they're going to have that half an hour or so of that high line practice to get that fresh rubber laid down. Then they're going to have an hour and a half practice there at 4:30, and then Saturday for race one. That is when qualification is going to start. Now, interesting how that's set up, because however you qualify on Saturday. Obviously the night race there Saturday night, that's your position. But then on Sunday as well, that's going to be the starting position that you're going to be starting from as well. So interesting there. And then, Saturday night, 8:00 is when the green flag drops. And like I said, I can't wait to see these liveries that are in the Iowa night. Definitely can't wait for that. And then we'll flip the page over, Michael, to Sunday there as well, where we're going to get things kicked off rather early on Sunday. The race is scheduled, the green flag is scheduled to drop at 12:15 p.m. So hopefully everyone has their Sunday brunch in, because 12:15 we're going to get things kicked off there. And then, like we said, there are a couple past winners, obviously, that we touched on that are going to be in the race on Saturday and Sunday. First and foremost, right there, a lot we talked about with Mike, our betting expert there, Joseph Newgarden, who is a previous winner, 2016, 2019, race 2 in 2020, race 1 in 2022, and then sweeping the Iowa doubleheader last year in race 1 and race 2. And then obviously, Pato Award, being the other active winner there in 2022. So obviously those two individuals are who we're going to be looking at, as race favorites, and in the betting world, betting favorites going into both of those races as well. But we do need to find out what Mother Nature is going to have in store at Iowa. I know last year it was a hot one. I didn't go, but talking to people that did, it was obviously a hot one. And when we look at Mother Nature, there's only one person, Michael, that I can think of that can speak on its behalf, if anybody can, and that is the official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast, IndyCar weatherman. And weatherman, hopefully you got some good weather for us here this weekend at Iowa.
Hey, good evening, guys. Thanks for having me back again this week. So, boy, good is a tough word, right? You were just talking about the heat, and that's really where we're at looking at this weekend. So a couple windows in there where we may see some storms fire up, but I don't think that's the real story this weekend. It's probably going to wind up being the heat and the heat index that we talk about, especially as we get into Sunday. So kind of walking through each day there. Friday, probably our best day, though I use that term rather loosely. And I hate to call, the upper 80s, mid 80s cool, but it should be our coolest day of the 3 days. And we're looking at a pretty humid atmosphere, right? So we're going to take that ambient temp, factor in the moisture, and that's going to give us a heat index, or you'll hear it referred to as the feels like temperature right through the weekend. So afternoon practice, probably feels more like upper 80s, low 90s. And I think there's a real slight chance for a storm after sunset in the evening, but it's pretty low right now. And as we go into Saturday, getting a little warmer still, right? So Saturday is the day I'm kind of also keeping an eye on for the potential for some pop-up storm activity. Right now, again, I think it's relatively low, but we'll kind of see how the updates play out through the week. So it is possible, but I don't think we'll have major disruptions in terms of that. So, but we are looking at, again, practice temps sitting there in the upper 80s, maybe 88, 89. And then, you do the math and it works out to a heat index, 95, 96 degrees. And then temps dropping as we get to that first race green flag. So your ambient in the upper 80s falling off into the low 80s as we go along. Sunset, 8:45-ish p.m., so probably right around when we're finishing up. So, we don't really get any relief necessarily as the sun goes down. And then we go into Sunday. So Sunday, I got no rain concerns, but it should be the hottest day of the 3 days for the entire event. Positive starting note, at least we're starting that second race before we get to peak heating. But even with that, I think you're looking at an ambient temp in the upper 80s, around 90. And then, you're starting with that heat index right off the bat in the mid 90s. And then as we go into that afternoon, getting into the hundreds and even into the 104, 105 range Sunday afternoon. So for folks that are attending, it's going to be one of those days where you want to make sure that you're hydrated throughout the day. Maybe you have a spot where you can get some relief from the heat or some shade out there. Winds not really an issue, I don't think. Pretty much out of the south the entire time, and some afternoon gusts up into the 15-knot range, but nothing crazy expected for now. Again, it's really going to be that heat. And then throughout the week, we'll just kind of keep an eye on the potential for storm chances, if they may get bigger or smaller as we go.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, everybody obviously stay hydrated there. As you see, those temps cracking the 90s, and then also too, I would highly suggest, as I always do, and Michael does as well, stay in tuned with the weatherman on X, formerly known as Twitter. And then also he is on Threads as well. Let him talk about that. But I know if something changes, he is definitely on top of it. But if they're not subscribed to you yet, where can they find you at?
Yeah, again, so you got my X/Twitter handle flashing there on the bottom of the screen, and then Threads using the same handle. I know somebody actually reached out to me this week about Facebook, so I'm not on Facebook, although maybe that's something I'll look into for next season. So, but for now, it's X and Threads.
All right, good stuff as always. We'll definitely keep an eye on if the weather changes, and hopefully we'll have a great doubleheader weekend with great weather as well.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.
You too, as well. So good stuff there. Like I said, everybody stay hydrated, like you said, and if you can, try to get out of the heat there as much as possible. So, Mike, just looking at things, I think I think we accomplished what we wanted to here this evening. I know we do have one more story to go through, and I know it's your favorite, coming from your favorite race team there, obviously. So I'll throw the graphic up here real quick. Again, like we said, the news broke earlier today that Catherine Legg, yes, if you remember Catherine Legg, she is going to be coming to Iowa this weekend for the doubleheader. Obviously, driving. Last time we seen her, she was climbing out of her number 51 Elf Honda for Dale Coyne Racing after retiring from the 108th Indianapolis 500 in May due to mechanical failure, and she ended up finishing 29th. But like we mentioned, though, today, Dale Coyne Racing did announce that she would be making her return to the number 51 Honda for this weekend's NTT IndyCar Series doubleheader at the Iowa Speedway. If you don't know about Catherine, she is a native of Gulf, England, and she has been in and out of the NTT IndyCar Series for a total of 4 seasons, starting back in 2012. During her time in the series, Catherine has participated in a total of 13 races, with the last 2 just being one-offs for the Indianapolis 500. Now, if you're wondering, Catherine actually does have some past oval experience, obviously outside of the Indianapolis 500. She has raced at Texas, Milwaukee, and then Iowa, with the average starting position of 25th and the average finishing position of 22nd. So, Michael, anything else that you want to add there about Catherine Legg coming back this weekend and driving for the revolving door that is Dale Coyne Racing?
Yeah, the only thing I want to add is it does sound like Elf has come back with her as well. So that's always positive, encouraging to have them. They did a great activation at Indy, so hopefully they can continue that and help boost the marketability of not only Catherine Legg, but the IndyCar Series and Dale Coyne Racing. And one more note about Dale Coyne Racing is their runner, their finishing place for Toby Sowery this past weekend was really good. You know, we talk about how the race was, you know, pretty much green start to finish. So for a guy that hasn't been in an Indy car in a while, to come over and finish as well as he did was really good. It was encouraging to see for that team as well.
Yeah, obviously, well, you know, good, great finish there by Toby, with, you know, obviously everything that's going on over there at Dale Coyne Racing, and you know, we're both kind of scratching our heads, asking each other, you know, what is going on. We'll have to see what the long-term plan is over there at Dale Coyne Racing, obviously, for sure. So with that, Michael, I think that puts a wrap on, you know, reviewing Mid-Ohio. Now that is behind us. We are definitely looking forward to the Iowa doubleheader this weekend. Obviously, I love night racing, so definitely looking forward to the Saturday night race, as I'm sure everyone else is, and then getting up there. Well, not getting up early, but getting up Sunday, getting everything ready to go, because at high noon there, about 12:15, we're going to go racing one more time from Iowa. So anybody going out to the race, hopefully you enjoy it this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. And like the weatherman said, temperatures are going to be a little high. So make sure you bring plenty of the Bobby Boucher high quality H2O and find as much shade as possible as well. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to all the folks at Mid-Ohio. Hospitality was top notch. First time ever being there. Outside of walking around the complex there, we learned some lessons, but everything was top notch as well. So huge thank you to them. Also, huge thank you to Mike, not only Michael, for joining us this evening, but being the driver there to Mid-Ohio this weekend. I know it was probably awful tough to put up with me for as long as you had to, but huge thank you to him for driving. Obviously, huge thank you to Josh, who is a big contributor of the show as well, but he was feeling a little under the weather this evening, so that is why he did not make it. Looking over at our viewership, huge thank you to everyone on X, formerly known as Twitter, for tuning in this evening, and also everybody viewing over there on YouTube as well. You'll be able to see a replay, obviously, on YouTube and Facebook if you follow the Push to Pass podcast. If you look down at the bottom, that is all of the social media outlets that we are on, and then you can also find it, the audio version, on all of the major platforms there as well. So huge, and then last but not least, obviously, huge thank you to the drivers. Like I said, that took a little bit of time out of their day, pre and post race on Sunday, to give Michael some comments before and after the race. So huge thank you to them. Obviously, we'll be back in 1 week's time to recap what's going to be a wild doubleheader this weekend at the Iowa Speedway. Michael, before I sign off, anything else that you want to add here before the checkered flag drops and we hear from Pato O'Ward, some of his post-race comments on after Sunday's race?
Just if you're going to Iowa, have a good time. As Derek and Weatherman said, stay hydrated and bring your sunscreen so you don't look like me after the weekend.
Oh, you should have. You know what? Me and Michael were almost the same. We both looked like almost becoming lobsters on Sunday with all the walking that I did, and especially the walking that he did. But yeah, good advice there as always. Stay hydrated, keep your sunscreen, and get to the shade as much as possible. So for myself, Michael, Josh, and everyone else that makes up the Push to Pass podcast, like I said, we'll be back in 1 week's time to recap what's going to be a wild, wild weekend in Iowa for the Iowa doubleheader. So until then, so long, everybody.
Yeah, Pato, more to the point on that catching going by Flo on that pit out for him. Are you sitting there thinking, yippee? I mean, what you're looking for him? I would think out of the corner of your eye. Where is he coming out of the pits, right? And but what is the emotion you're feeling? Like yippee or let's get on it? What? Explain that inside.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what I was saying in my head. Coming out of 13, I saw him launching from the box, and then I said, I got his ass. And yeah.
But
that was it.